Right now, someone just decided what you'll do in the next 5 minutes, and you think it's your choice. You've been manipulated 3 times today already. Once by someone who loves you, once by someone selling you something, and once by yourself. The game is always running, and most people don't even know they're playing. Manipulation isn't the obvious villain twirling a mustache. It's not the con artist with the cheap trick. Real manipulation is invisible. It feels like your idea, your choice, your decision. The best manipulators make you thank them for doing exactly what they wanted all along. And here's the part nobody admits. Everyone does it. Your parents did it. Your boss does it. Your partner does it. You do it. Every single day. But there's a line between influence and exploitation, between guiding someone toward mutual benefit and weaponizing their weaknesses for your gain. Most people cross it without knowing. Some cross it deliberately. And a few have turned it into an art form so refined you'll never see it coming. Every manipulation starts with one advantage: information asymmetry. You know something they don't. You see something they can't. You understand the pattern before they recognize it exists. Knowledge is currency in this game, and the manipulator always holds more. Watch this. Someone asks where you want to eat. You say you don't care. They suggest 3 places. You veto 2 immediately. Now they're choosing from your narrowed list while believing they made the decision. You never said what you wanted. You just eliminated what you didn't. They think they chose. You controlled the frame without them noticing. That's amateur hour. Now scale it up. The master manipulator doesn't control your choices. They control what you think your choices are. They don't tell you what to do. They create an environment where doing what they want feels natural, inevitable, obvious. They architect the decision before you even realize you're making one. Here's the mechanism. First, they study you, not obviously, casually. They notice what you value, what you fear, what you need to believe about yourself. Everyone protects an identity, a story about who they are. The manipulator finds that story, then makes you prove it. You think you're honest. They create situations where honesty serves their goal. You think you're generous. They frame their request as a chance to prove that generosity. You think you're intelligent. They make their manipulation look like your brilliant idea. You're not being controlled, you're being yourself. That's the art. Let me show you a specific technique: preemptive framing. They plant the interpretation in your mind before you encounter the situation, weeks in advance. So when the moment arrives, you see it through their lens without realizing they installed the lens. Example: someone wants your support in a future conflict. Months before it happens, they casually mention how reasonable they are, how they always see both sides, how they hate unnecessary drama. Seeds planted. When the conflict arrives and they present their version, you're already biased. You already decided they're reasonable. They framed the story before it began. You never had a chance to see it objectively. Now we enter darker territory: emotional manipulation. Because emotions are the express lane past reason, logic is slow, deliberate, questionable. Emotions are instant, certain, overwhelming. The fastest way to control behavior is to control feeling. And there are 6 emotions manipulators exploit with surgical precision. Start with fear. Your colleague wants you to support their proposal. They don't sell the benefits. They mention what happened to the last person who opposed similar ideas. Career stalled, reputation damaged, sidelined from key projects. They're not threatening you, just sharing information. Interesting information. Now you're afraid. Fear of loss. Fear of being left behind, fear of looking foolish. You agree to their proposal, not because it's good, because disagreeing feels dangerous. They weaponized your fear and called it collaboration. Guilt operates differently. It works best on people with conscience. Your friend wants a favor you don't want to give. They don't ask directly. They mention how stressed they are, how alone they feel, how everyone else is too busy to help. They sigh, long, heavy. You feel it, that tightness in your chest, that weight. You're responsible now. They didn't accuse you. They just painted a picture and let you place yourself in it. You offer to help. They graciously accept. You just did exactly what they wanted while thinking it was your generous idea. Shame cuts deeper than guilt. Your partner wants control over your social life. They don't forbid anything. That would create resistance. They just make comments. That friend of yours seems shallow. That hobby seems childish for someone your age. That interest seems beneath your intelligence, never direct, always implied. You start seeing yourself through their critical lens, start feeling fundamentally flawed. Then they position themselves as the only one who accepts you despite these flaws. Now you're dependent. Now you'll sacrifice parts of yourself to keep their acceptance, because without it, You're alone with the shame they created and installed in you. Pride works in reverse. Your boss wants you to take on significant extra work without extra pay. They don't demand it. They mention how you're not like the others. You see the bigger picture. You understand what it takes to build something meaningful. Your leadership material. Others just clock in and out. Now refusing feels like admitting you're ordinary, like proving you're not special after all. Most people can't do it. They'll accept exploitation to maintain the elevated identity someone else invented for them. Desire is perhaps the simplest. The salesperson wants you to buy. They show you the premium version first, the one that's far too expensive. Beautiful but unrealistic. Then the mid-tier option, still high but looks reasonable next to the premium. You buy it. You think you compromised intelligently. They anchored your perception with the expensive option, made the overpriced one look sensible by comparison. You wanted to buy something. They just controlled which something and at what price. Obligation is the quietest trap. Your neighbor keeps doing unrequested favors, brings you food you didn't ask for, helps with your yard uninvited, watches your house while you're away. You didn't request any of it. They insist. Now you owe them. You feel it. That weight, that invisible ledger. When they ask you to support their controversial position at the community meeting, you do it. The favor was worth $20. The political support they wanted was worth much more. But you can't say no without feeling ungrateful. They bought your compliance with gestures you never wanted in the first place. See the pattern? The manipulator creates a feeling, then offers relief from that feeling, but only if you comply. They cause the problem and sell the solution. You're accepting medicine from the person who poisoned you and thanking them for it. Now the language. Because words are architecture, the way you arrange them builds rooms in other people's minds. Rooms they walk into thinking they found them on their own. Implied alternatives, never yes or no, always option A or option B. Both serve the manipulator. Should we do this Tuesday or Wednesday? Either way, it's happening. The choice is theatrical. The outcome is predetermined. Assumptive language. Don't ask if they'll do it. Discuss how they'll do it. Speak as if agreement is already established. Most people won't correct the assumption because correction feels confrontational. They agree to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing. You've manipulated them through their desire to be agreeable. Strategic ambiguity. Be specific about irrelevant details, vague about important terms. They think they understand because you've given them so much information. But the information is meaningless. The core remains undefined. When problems emerge, you interpret the ambiguity in your favor. They can't argue because nothing was clear to begin with. You built in deniability from the start. Pacing and leading. Make 3 statements they'll agree with. Build a rhythm of yes, get them nodding, establish rapport. Then slip in what you actually want. They're in agreement momentum. The yes keeps flowing. You've hijacked their pattern recognition and turned it against them. The false confession. Admit a small flaw to hide a larger one. Confess to being too generous to conceal that you're actually calculating. Admit to caring too much to hide that you're controlling every variable. The small confession creates an illusion of honesty. If you're willing to admit that, you must be trustworthy about everything else. Meanwhile, you're using minor honesty to enable major deception. Here's where mastery lives. The best manipulators manipulate the manipulators. They let you think you're playing them. Let you believe your strategy is working. They're 3 moves ahead. They anticipated your manipulation and built their trap around it. You get exactly what you wanted. You don't realize what you wanted was what they made you want in the first place. The long game separates amateurs from professionals. Amateurs manipulate in moments. Professionals manipulate across years. They establish credibility through small, accurate predictions. Create gradual dependency through consistent validation. Shift your values 1 degree at a time until you hold beliefs you would have rejected at the start. By the time you notice, you're already theirs. The defense is simpler than you think. Awareness. The moment you see the mechanism clearly, it stops working. Manipulation requires invisibility. Spot it, and the spell breaks immediately. Watch for patterns. Someone makes you feel intense emotion before asking for something. That's a tell. Someone gives unsolicited favors, then calls them in later. Tell. Someone creates false urgency around a decision that isn't actually urgent. Tell. Someone makes you feel special specifically for agreeing with them. Ask 3 questions before making any significant decision. What do they gain from my choice? What information might they have that I don't? How would I feel about this decision if they weren't in the picture? Those 3 questions cut through most manipulation. Because manipulation relies on you not thinking clearly about motive, information, asymmetry, and true autonomy. Here's the paradox. Understanding manipulation makes you dangerous. You now know how to architect choices, engineer emotions, frame realities in ways that serve your goals. You can move people without them knowing they're being moved. The question isn't whether you have this power. You do. The question is what you do with it. You can use it ethically, guide without controlling, influence toward mutual benefit, help people make better decisions than they would have made alone. That's leadership. That's persuasion with integrity. That's influence that serves everyone involved. Or you can exploit, take without giving, win at others' expense, control for personal gain regardless of cost to others. That's predation. That's manipulation without conscience. That's using people as instruments for your ends. The tools are completely neutral. The intent determines the morality. A knife can cut food or cut throats. The knife doesn't care which. These techniques don't care either. They work regardless of your ethics. That's what makes them dangerous and necessary to understand. Because manipulators exist, people who studied these mechanisms with darker intent. People who see other humans as instruments, as means to ends, as pieces on a board to be moved. If you don't understand how this works, you're just another target. But if you see the mechanics clearly, you can choose. Participate consciously, refuse entirely, or use these tools yourself with full awareness of what you're doing. Think about today. Someone moved you. The person who loves you framed a request so you'd feel guilty refusing. The salesperson anchored your expectations so the overpriced option looked reasonable. And you manipulated yourself by justifying a decision you knew wasn't in your best interest. The manipulator banks on your blindness, your assumption that your thoughts are entirely yours. But every thought exists in a context someone else shaped. Every decision gets filtered through frames others constructed. The question isn't whether you're being influenced. You are, always. The question is whether you see it clearly enough to choose which influences you allow. Here's what changes now. You can't unsee this. The art of manipulation isn't something you learn and forget. It's a lens. Once you put it on, you see it everywhere. You'll see it in the guilt trip your mother uses to get you home for holidays, in the pride appeal your boss deploys to get free overtime, in the fear you weaponize to make your partner do what you want, in the false confession you make to seem trustworthy before asking for something significant, in the assumptive language you use when you've already decided the outcome and just need compliance to look like consent. You'll see it operating in real time, mid-sentence, mid-conversation, mid-decision. The mechanism becomes visible the moment you know its name. And once visible, it loses most of its power over you. Not all of it, because knowing a trap exists doesn't make it physically disappear, but enough to pause, enough to ask the 3 questions, enough to choose your response instead of just having one. That's the only real defense there is. Not suspicion of everyone, not paranoid analysis of every interaction, just the habit of noticing. The slight hesitation before you act on a strong feeling someone else just triggered in you. The small question that asks what they gain from your choice. The awareness that the frame you're seeing through was built by someone, and that someone may not have built it for your benefit. The person who loves you will still use guilt. The salesperson will still anchor. Your boss will still deploy pride to extract free labor. None of that stops. People don't stop using the tools that work. What changes is that you stop being moved without knowing you're moving. You stop confusing their architecture for your instinct. You stop thanking people for decisions they made for you. And you stop pretending you don't do it too. That's the part people resist most. Seeing the mechanisms in yourself. The way you sigh heavily before asking for a favor. The way you mention your own sacrifice before making a request. The way you make someone feel special for agreeing with you and slightly less special when they don't. None of that makes you a predator. It makes you human. Everyone operates these mechanisms because they work and because we learned them before we had words for what they were. The difference now is that you see the guilt trip for what it is when your mother uses it and when you use it. You see the pride appeal when your boss runs it and when you're tempted to run it on someone beneath you. You see the false confession when a colleague deploys it and when it rises in your own throat before a difficult conversation. Seeing it doesn't make you immune, it makes you responsible. You can no longer act on these mechanisms accidentally. Every time you use them now, you're choosing to. Every time you fall for them now, you had a moment where you could have noticed and didn't take it. That's not a burden. That's the only kind of freedom that's actually available. Not freedom from influence, that doesn't exist, but freedom within it. The ability to see the current you're swimming in and decide whether to go with it or cut across it. Most people swim their whole lives without knowing there's a current at all. They call it instinct. They call it intuition. They call it just knowing what they want. They don't realize that what they want was carefully arranged for them by someone who studied them first. You know now. The guilt your friend manufactures with a long sigh. The shame your partner installs through casual comments about your hobbies. The obligation your neighbor builds with unrequested favors. The fear your colleague plants with a story about someone else's ruined career. These aren't feelings that arrived naturally. They were placed, precisely, by people who understand exactly which lever to pull to get the outcome they want from you specifically. And the version of you that exists after watching this understands that too, which means the next time someone sighs heavily before asking you for something, a small part of you will recognize the architecture before you feel the weight. The next time someone tells you you're not like the others right before adding to your workload, something in you will name it before you accept it. The next time you feel sudden urgency about a decision that was perfectly calm 5 minutes ago, you'll know someone just applied pressure and you'll be able to ask why. That recognition is everything. It doesn't make relationships cold. It doesn't make you immune to love or loyalty or genuine obligation. It just means you're present for what's actually happening instead of what you're being directed to see. It means the three people who manipulated you today, the one who loves you, the one selling you something, and yourself, will have a harder time doing it tomorrow without your participation. The art of manipulation is now visible to you, in others, and in yourself. That's not the end of anything. It's the only honest place to start.